Alright, so third episode of I Finished Watching. I Finished Watching Unorthodox.
You escaped, didn't you?
You make it sound like I was in prison.
Weren't you?
No, but I left without telling anyone.
Why did you leave?
God expected too much of me.
Which is a American-German based show. I should have probably done research before I started filming these. Oh well, that's what editing's for. Anyway, so this is a show about a young Hasidic Orthodox Jew named Esty, who runs away from her husband of a year because she and basically she lives in New York, and she is obviously in this very close conservative community of Hasidic Jews, and she runs away to Berlin in order to escape that because she doesn't, basically, like in the trailer says, like she's not normal, which is like basically she asks a lot of questions and doesn't like, I don't think she really likes her husband like that much, the husband's actually pretty interesting, but I'll get back to him. But anyway, so she, with the help of her old piano teacher, she runs away to Berlin, mainly because that's where her mother lives, and that's the whole story. And she's trying to figure out, her life now that she is away from this really restrictive community. I don't know much about like the I know it's super Orthodox Jewish. I grew up actually Reformed Jewish, which is like the least, like it's very, like you're not really, you still celebrate like all the holidays, like that kind of thing, but you're not really, obviously you can do whatever you want, basically. And this is like obviously very traditional. The women, basically the one thing that they do is like they, cook and clean for their husbands, and, they have babies, that's what they're told that they have to do. They do arranged marriages with a matchmaker. So she marries a guy named Yankee, and they get married when, I know she's 17, and there's a very long wedding scene. It's actually really well done, and they're married for a year and it's not really going well. Mainly the big thing is that like they're having trouble having sex because it hurts her, because it's like her first time, and Yankee's kind of telling his family, and then they're getting upset, and she's kind of upset because she feels like that should be private, that kind of thing. And then they eventually do it, and she gets pregnant, and then Yankee asks for divorce because he keeps thinking that like she's like bare, like that's she's up, but he thinking like she's not a good wife, that kind of thing, which is really unfair for her. So then she decides to run away to Berlin. She gets to Berlin. She doesn't contact her mother because that's a whole complicated story about how the mother kind of left the community, and therefore like she can't really see her mother and that kind of thing. And then she meets some people who will go to a music academy, and she tries to get a scholarship there, and she makes friends with these people, and then her kind of like trying to restart her life. Meanwhile, her husband and this guy Moshi, I think his name is like kind of like a thug type character and a dickhead. They try to find her and bring her back to New York, especially now that they know that she's pregnant, because that kind of thing. So this is based on a true story of a woman named Deborah Feldman, loosely based, I think, from what I've heard. The stuff with the background of like with her marriage and that kind of, and her like first year of marriage and her life and growing up in this kind of community, that is based in fact. But then everything else is kind of like, except Berlin is like made up essentially, because I think like by the time she escaped she already had a kid, from what I've read. I found her books on Audible. Sponsor? No, not yet. No sponsors yet. But on Audible, and I plan on getting them and listening to them. But yeah, overall this is really good. It's 4 parts on Netflix, and each part's about 50 minutes, I'd say. But it's really well done. I liked all the characters. Esty is, I enjoyed watching her kind of, like you can tell like from the beginning, like when you see her like before she's married, that like she does ask a lot of questions and thinks that when she's gonna marry Yankee at first, because he kind of seems like, oh well, this one's good, and then kind of, I think it feels like she goes into the marriage thinking that like she can be herself, with this guy and it's gonna be okay. But also the thing with Yankee is that he grew up with this religion, was told, you know, that he is the man and his wife has to, you know, basically cook for him, clean, keep the house, and make babies. Like, that's what he's been told all of his life. That's what he kind of sticks to. So I think that kind of upsets her a lot. And also just like, you don't expect what you're gonna get into marriage until you get out of it. You learn a lot of stuff. Once she gets to Berlin, she kind of feels like she can be free, but it takes her a while because like she's always like really like covered up and she has her wig on. And then after a point, she can just take her wig off and she wears more revealing clothing and starts to become more opened up and that kind of thing. She gets back in contact with her mother, who basically left at one point because she also needed that freedom, which is fine. And also her husband was a drunk and bleh. I liked most of the people that she met in Germany. Oh, I don't remember their names. Crap. I'll put them down in the thing. There was the one friend, I forget the girl's name, but she was really fun. And then there was the German guy who looks like Milo Ventimiglia, and I really wanted them to like get together and then like not like date, but like I was hoping that like she would like be free and just like have sex with him, and then they did, and I'm like, yes, you go Esty. Like, that's the thing, you want her to succeed and like not go back to kind of the life that she had, because she obviously wasn't happy there, and people can be happy there, which is fine, but like she wasn't. And I kind of wanted that. And you got like her husband and Moishi just kind of following them along, and Moishi's such a dick, and like there was like a really creepy scene where like he ends up catching her in the final episode I think, and basically saying like, you're gonna feel so bad that like, and God's gonna leave you, so then you should probably just kill yourself. And he's not a good person. And she, I mean, obviously doesn't. She's like, no, this is what I want. And I think it's like a thing of like saying like, God just wants you to be happy. It doesn't matter like what you do and that kind of thing. Well, I mean, don't be a bad person, but like if you don't feel comfortable in this life, don't be in that life, that kind of thing. There was a lot I really liked. I liked she had this like nice, it was like a dinner party scene. They're really cool. She went to a club at one point and just kind of like seeing the world, like how she hasn't seen it for a while. Because she's, you know, grown up in a small community where everybody knows everything basically, which is like really hard to deal with, I would say. And throughout the time, like, I was like wondering, because like you hear about the thing where she's pregnant, and like for a little bit I was like wondering if she actually, you know, was, because like she wasn't really talking about it, and then at some point it comes up and she is, and she kind of has to deal with that and that kind of thing. She ends up auditioning for a scholarship. She tries to do piano, and then some people, like, I think this one is really good, but they said like, you're good, but you're not, like, a lot of it's work your butt off, you're not gonna, and like, it was harsh, but you're kind of just like, I get it. And then she ends up like singing a song. I really liked the ending of her with her audition, because she sings a song as a soprano and she's more of an alto, so like, people are like, well, you're more of an alto, singing a song. And she starts like singing a prayer, which is like, you know, that's how I was told I was a good singer, for me at least, was like, you sing a prayer. So like, and that was really well done, and she gives a lot of passion to it, and that was a really good scene. So I really like her arc of like being like trying to, like, she is assertive, she gets married and tries to like have this like peak thing, and like just feeling like she doesn't belong, not peak thing, trying to like conform, but really like she can't, and then going out on her own and just like feeling actually free, despite the fact that like her husband's looking for her. And then I liked her husband Yankee's his arc, because he was basically told what he was doing all of his life, and kind of thought that like his needs came first and that kind of thing, not really thinking about his wife. And then finally her mom actually says to him like, what does she want? How do you think about that? Because she clearly didn't want this. And then him kind of realizing that like I can be a better person, because I should, like, obviously it should be a team thing. And I really like, at one point he ends up like buying her some jewelry. He buys her jewelry at one point, and it's like this, I think it's like earrings or something. I think it was earrings, and they're nice. And then he buys some jewelry in Berlin, and he says like, I thought of this for you. It's like a necklace. It's a music with a music note, and it's really nice. And you can tell that like he's changed, but they're still not gonna get together. She's like, no, like we're done. But like it's good that you changed. And like I'm still gonna care about you, and you know we'll see what happens. I don't know if they're gonna make a sequel, but so yeah. Probably people should know that most of it is in Yiddish, because that's mostly what the community speaks, and then a good chunk of it is in English. Just a little bit of German. I was kind of like wondering like why all these people who were in Germany were speaking English, but then I'm like, it's established like they're all from like all over the place, and probably English is like the common language, so that kind of makes sense. It's really well filmed. You can get, I'd say, yeah, you could get through this pretty quickly. It is something like you just kind of want to keep watching, like see what happens next, and it's just nice to like see this woman's story about how she broke free from a community that she felt like she didn't belong in, and finding a place she does belong in, and that's a great story that we can all deal with, enjoy. Alright, so that is it for this episode. We'll see when the next one comes out, hopefully soonish when I finish either, I might, if I see a movie, I'll talk about that, or maybe I'll finish up a series soon, who knows. So if you like this, please subscribe and comment and like. Also, I want to promote my podcast under Woody Close Productions. It is called First Reaction Fan Reaction. I do it with my friend Kaylin. We haven't put out much in a while just because we live far apart, so it's hard to do recording when you're far apart and you're in quarantine. So that's kind of fun, I guess. Meh. But we just recently finished up Gravity Falls, so if you're a fan of that show, I was the first, so you can watch me react crazily to a bunch of that stuff. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and talk to you soon. Bye.